My conniving new boss thought he could shatter my empire with one vicious betrayal, but he's about to face a cataclysmic reckoning for crossing me. "We're going in a different direction," Kieran Holt said with that half smirk I'd come to loathe. "Thanks for everything, but we need people who fit the new model. My name's Evan Calder, 40 years old, senior account executive at Nexus Solutions for the past 8 years. At least I was until about 60 seconds ago." I nodded, didn't argue, didn't plead my case by mentioning that I just closed our most successful quarter in company history, didn't point out that I'd personally brought in 65% of total revenue, didn't ask what the new model even meant. "You're making a fatal error, Kieran," I said, my voice low and seething, locking eyes with him. "You'll choke on this decision." "Got it. Best of luck," I said, standing up. Kieran looked almost disappointed, like he'd been expecting, maybe hoping for an outburst, something to justify whatever story he'd already planned to tell about me after I left. "No fight, Calder," Kieran sneered, leaning back with a mocking grin. "I thought you'd grovel for your precious clients." I met his gaze, unflinching. "I don't grovel, Kieran. You'll learn that the hard way." Instead, I walked out calmly, leaving my collection of top performer plaques in the cabinet behind me, 8 years of achievement gathering dust. Let him keep them. Back at my desk, I packed up quickly, a few personal photos, coffee mug, the football Miles had signed for me after I helped him secure his first round of funding. While I cleared out my space, coworkers stared at their screens, typing furiously about nothing. Nobody made eye contact. Human Resources gave me the standard exit spiel. Non-compete clause reminders, company property return checklist, exit survey link. The woman across the desk, Marlena, looked uncomfortable. She knew the numbers I'd brought in, knew what I was worth. "This is a travesty," I said, my voice calm but sharp. "They'll pay dearly for this, Marlena." I handed in my badge, laptop, and phone. "Good luck with everything, Evan," she said, and I could hear the genuine regret. "They've unleashed a storm," I replied, my tone steady with resolve. "Appreciate it," I replied. As the elevator descended, I wasn't angry. Not exactly. Something colder had settled in, a quiet certainty that Kieran Holt had made the biggest mistake of his professional life. He'd been with Nexus Solutions less than 6 weeks, full of buzzwords, MIT Sloan quotes, obsessed with reshaping the sales culture into something more aggressive, whatever that meant. What Kieran didn't know, what Human Resources never thought to check, was that every single one of my top clients had personal connections to me. College roommates who'd launched startups, groomsmen from my wedding who now ran procurement departments, old friends who'd been with me since before Nexus Solutions even existed. In his spreadsheets, they were just account numbers and revenue figures. To me, they were relationships built over decades. "He's blind to the empire I've built," I whispered, my resolve hardening as I walked to my car. I walked out to my car, jacket slung over my shoulder. My phone, my personal phone, buzzed with a message from Theo, my biggest client. "You free for lunch tomorrow? Urgent." I smiled for the first time that day. I'd been with Nexus Solutions since they were just a scrappy startup operating out of a converted warehouse in Raleigh, North Carolina. Back then, we were 12 people, with big dreams and empty bank accounts. I was employee number 6. My job was simple: bring in clients, keep them happy, grow the relationships. That's what I did. Not by handing out branded pens or taking people golfing, but by actually giving a damn. By remembering birthdays and asking about kids. By calling just to check in, not to upsell. By being a resource, not just a vendor. When my old roommate Theo launched his e-commerce company, I was his first call for inventory management software. When Miles's biotech startup needed data analytics integration, I brought him on board. When Cora expanded her retail chain, I made sure we scaled with her. 68% of my book of business came from people I'd known before they were clients. The rest came from their referrals. The first sign of trouble appeared 4 months ago during the quarterly review. Our CEO introduced Kieran Holt, brought in from some San Francisco firm I'd never heard of. Hair too perfect, smile too wide. Everything about him screamed ambition without substance. "He's a snake," I muttered to a colleague, my instincts screaming danger. "Kieran's going to revolutionize our approach to sales," the CEO announced, make us more competitive in the modern marketplace. I'd heard that kind of talk before, usually from people who'd never actually closed a deal themselves. 3 weeks later, Kieran called a sales team meeting, presented a new client acquisition strategy that involved cold outreach quotas and script-based pitches, made a big show about measurable metrics and performance analytics. Not once did he mention relationships. "He's going to ruin us," I whispered to myself, my gut churning with dread. After the meeting, Cora texted me, "Your new boss is a disaster waiting to happen." Another warning came during a client dinner. Kieran insisted on joining me and Theo, my biggest account, talking over him, constantly interrupting with corporate jargon that made Theo visibly uncomfortable. "He's poison," Theo hissed as we left, his voice low with anger. "He's gunning for you, Evan." In the parking lot afterward, Theo pulled me aside. "That guy's going to be a problem for you, isn't he?" I shrugged it off. Just knew finding his footing. But something in my gut knew better. The way Kieran looked at my client list, the way he questioned my process but never my results. When he started scheduling one-on-ones with junior sales reps without including me, I should have seen it coming. The signs were all there. I just didn't want to believe someone would be foolish enough to burn down what took years to build. I didn't call anyone after getting fired. Didn't have to. By 6:00 p.m. that evening, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. First was Theo. "Just got an email introducing my new account manager. What's going on? You okay?" Then Miles. "Some kid just called me. Said he's taken over my account. What's happening, Evan?" "Cora, your replacement just called." Sounded like a teenager. "You switching roles?" One by one, my phone lit up with similar messages. 20 clients, every major account I managed, all reaching out within hours. Not because Nexus Solutions had contacted them, but because they wanted to hear from me first. "They've sparked a rebellion," I whispered, my voice steady with resolve as I read the messages, a fire igniting within me. The anger I'd expected never showed up. Instead, a cold clarity washed over me. Kieran had made a fundamental mistake. He'd looked at spreadsheets instead of people, seen revenue instead of relationships, calculated my worth based on what he thought I did, not understanding what I'd built. My phone rang again. This time it was Sonia from Bright Path Logistics, a client I'd landed 4 years ago. "Evan, what the hell is happening? I just got the strangest call from some guy saying he's my new contact. They let me go this morning," I said simply. Silence on the line. "Are you serious? After the quarter you just had?" "New VP has a different vision." "His vision's a death sentence," Sonia snapped, her voice shaking with fury. "I'm done with Nexus." "Well, his vision better include finding a new logistics partner because I'm not working with whoever this new person is. Did they even look at how much business you bring in? Apparently not enough. I'm calling Valerie right now." Valerie was our CEO. "This is ridiculous." "I appreciate that, but don't put yourself in an awkward position. Evan, you've bailed us out of technical emergencies at midnight. You came to my sister's wedding. This isn't business, it's personal." After Sonia, I took 6 more similar calls. By 9:00 p.m., I turned my phone off. Needed to think. I wasn't going to actively sabotage Nexus Solutions. That wasn't my style. But I also wasn't going to protect them from the consequences of their own bad decisions. In the morning, I woke up to an email from Tara Weston, VP of Sales at Stormcrest Technologies, Nexus's main competitor. We'd met at industry conferences over the years, always been cordial. Heard what happened, absolute madness. Coffee this week? I didn't have to wonder how she'd heard. News travels fast in our industry. As I showered and dressed that morning, something shifted inside me. The loyalty I'd felt toward Nexus Solutions, the company I'd helped build, evaporated completely. They hadn't just fired an employee, they'd severed relationships they didn't even know existed. I texted Tara back. "Coffee sounds great. Tomorrow, 10:00. Her response came immediately. "Perfect. Got some ideas you'll love." "They'll rue the day they crossed me," I whispered, a grim smile forming as I sent the text. For the first time since walking out of Kieran's office, I smiled. Not out of spite, but because I finally understood my true value. And so would Nexus Solutions. Soon enough. "They've awakened a giant," I muttered, my resolve steel as I prepared for the meeting with Tara. The coffee shop Tara suggested was clear across town from the Nexus Solutions office. Smart move. Raleigh's business community was too small for accidental run-ins. Tara looked exactly as I remembered her. Sharp, confident, without trying too hard. No power suit, just practical business casual and an easy smile. "Nexus is imploding," Tara said, her voice low with knowing. "You're the talk of the industry, Evan." "They're idiots," she said after we'd exchanged greetings. "Everyone in the industry is talking about it. Everyone. When the top performer at a competitor suddenly becomes available, people notice." She sipped her coffee. "Especially when that person is responsible for more than half their revenue." I shrugged. "Ancient history now." "Not according to my phone. It's been blowing up since yesterday with clients asking if we've hired you yet. That caught me off guard." "Your clients are asking about me?" Tara nodded. "Evan, you've built relationships across this entire industry. People trust you. That's rare." She slid a folder across the table. "So, here's what Stormcrest is prepared to offer. Director of Enterprise Relationships, team of 8 reporting to you, base salary 35% higher than what you were making, plus an aggressive commission structure." I glanced through the papers. The numbers were better than I'd expected. "And full autonomy," she added. "Build your division how you want." "Sounds good," I said carefully, "but I need to be upfront about something. The non-compete clause in my contract." Tara waved her hand. "Already ran it by legal. It's practically unenforceable. North Carolina courts rarely uphold them, especially in cases of termination without cause. Still, I don't want to start a legal battle." "Agreed, which is why we're suggesting a 90-day consulting arrangement first. After that, full employment." It was a good plan, well thought out. "One more thing," I said. "My clients, we're not asking you to violate any confidentiality agreements, but if your former clients happen to seek out new vendors on their own," I nodded slowly. "That's their business decision, exactly. I took a day to think it over, but the decision was already made. Signed the consulting agreement the following morning. By then, the fallout had already begun. Theo's company, my biggest account worth nearly $6 million, 0 cents annually, had paused all implementation projects with Nexus, citing relationship restructuring evaluation, corporate speak for "we're not happy." Miles's biotech firm had requested full documentation of all processes in preparation for potential vendor transition. 4 more clients had declined meetings with their newly assigned account managers. I hadn't orchestrated any of it, hadn't needed to. These were my friends, responding naturally to a broken trust. That afternoon, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I almost didn't answer. Evan Calder. "Evan, it's Valerie Pierce, Nexus CEO." My stomach tightened. "Valerie, what can I do for you?" "I'm calling to understand what's happening with our client base." Of course, now she wanted to talk. "I'm not sure what you mean," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "I've been gone less than a week. Several key accounts are suddenly threatening to leave. Theo from Brightspire Retail says he'll only talk to you." "You broke their trust," I said, my voice steady but cutting. "You can't buy that back, Valerie. The relationships I built were personal, Valerie, you know that." "Evan, be reasonable. Those are company accounts. I haven't contacted a single client. If they're reaching out to me, that's their choice." "You're destroying us," Valerie snapped, her voice trembling with panic. "Fix this, Evan, or we'll make you regret it." I kept my tone calm. "You fired me, Valerie. You broke the trust, not me. We need you to help with the transition, make introductions, smooth things over." I almost laughed. "You mean clean up Kieran's mess?" Silence on the line. "The board has concerns about his decision. We could discuss your returning." "Same position, 15% increase. Too little, too late. I appreciate the offer, Valerie, but I've found where I belong." After we hung up, I felt no satisfaction, just confirmation of what I'd already known. Nexus had only valued the revenue, never understanding the relationships that created it. Now they were learning the difference the hard way. 3 weeks into my consulting arrangement with Stormcrest, I met with Theo for lunch at our usual spot. "Kieran's begging me to stay," Theo said, his voice thick with disdain. "He's offering discounts like a used car salesman." The restaurant wasn't fancy, just a reliable place with good sandwiches and private booths, where Kieran's been calling me daily, Theo said, shaking his head. Yesterday, he offered a 20% discount if we'd resume the implementation schedule. I told him it wasn't about the money. Theo took a sip of his coffee. Then he started bad-mouthing you. Said you'd been on your way out anyway, performance issues. My jaw tightened. Classy. That's when I told him we were exploring other options and hung up. He's desperate, Theo said, his voice low with disgust. He's losing everything, Evan. This pattern repeated in conversations with other clients. Pierre was scrambling, making desperate offers while simultaneously trying to undermine me. Classic damage control from someone who knew he'd made a catastrophic mistake. But there was something else happening, something I hadn't anticipated. Miles called that evening. You're not going to believe this. I requested a full data export as a precaution, and they're stonewalling, claiming our contract doesn't guarantee data portability. That's not right, I said. Section 14C specifically covers data ownership and transfer rights. I know I have the contract right here, but their legal team is suddenly reinterpreting the language. The next day, Cora reported similar issues. Then Sonia. They're holding us hostage, Sonia fumed, her voice shaking with anger. They're punishing us for your firing. One by one, my former clients were discovering that Nexus was making it difficult for them to leave. I called Tara immediately. They're deliberately creating exit barriers, I explained. Technical roadblocks, contract reinterpretations, sudden system maintenance that affects only clients who've indicated they might leave. Tara wasn't surprised. Kieran's fighting for his career now. The board's breathing down his neck about the revenue forecasts. This goes beyond normal retention tactics. They're essentially holding client data hostage, Tara's voice hardened. Get me documentation. Every instance, every client affected. Our legal team will have a field day with this. Over the next week, I collected evidence, screenshots of suddenly unavailable export functions, emails denying access to supposedly guaranteed services, recorded calls where Nexus representatives made thinly veiled threats about data loss if clients terminated early. But the real bombshell came from Cora, who forwarded me an email she'd received by mistake, intended for Kieran. Attached is the client retention strategy you requested. We've identified technical dependencies we can leverage to delay transitions for the Calder accounts. Legal believes we can stretch these maneuvers 4 or 5 months minimum before facing any meaningful penalties. Attached was a spreadsheet listing every one of my former clients with specific retention tactics assigned to each. It wasn't just Kieran. It was systematic, coordinated, deliberately obstructive. I forwarded everything to Stormcrest's legal department. They've handed us their downfall, Tara said, her voice sharp with triumph. We'll bury them, Evan. Their response was immediate and forceful. This constituted tortious interference and potential violation of data protection laws. That night, I sat watching the Raleigh skyline. The city looked different now. 8 years at Nexus, believing I was part of something worthwhile. All that time, I'd thought I was building something meaningful, not just client relationships, but a company with integrity. Now I understood the truth. When faced with the consequences of their mistake, Nexus's leadership had chosen obstruction over accountability. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about 20 businesses, many owned or run by friends, being deliberately harmed to cover someone else's failure. My phone buzzed with a text from Tara. Legal team has what they need. Board approved the full offensive. You ready for this? I texted back one word. Yes. The quiet clarity I'd felt before crystallized into something stronger. Resolution. Determination. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. Stormcrest lawyers moved quickly. Within 72 hours, they drafted cease and desist letters addressing Nexus's obstructive tactics with specific references to contract violations, data protection laws, and unfair business practices. But they didn't send them immediately. That was my call. We could fire these off tomorrow, Tara said during our strategy meeting. Shut down their games right away. I shook my head. Not yet. I had a better approach. My plan was simple but effective. Help my former clients help themselves. First, I created a detailed guide documenting every known tactic Nexus was using to obstruct transitions, along with specific contractual clauses that protected client rights. Nothing in it violated my non-disclosure agreement, It was simply an educational resource explaining standard industry contracts. Next, I arranged a series of industry networking lunches, small, casual gatherings where my former clients could meet each other for the first time. No formal agenda, just business owners and executives sharing experiences. I attended only the first one, making introductions before excusing myself. Sorry, conflict of interest, but you all might find you have some common business challenges worth discussing. You've ignited a revolution, Theo said after the first lunch, his voice alight with excitement. They're ready to fight, Evan. By the fourth such lunch, they'd formed their own informal alliance, began comparing notes, pooling knowledge, discovering they weren't alone in their struggles with Nexus. Meanwhile, I was building something new at Stormcrest. Not just bringing on individual team members, but designing an entire client relationship division, focused on long-term partnerships rather than transactions. Tara gave me complete freedom to implement my vision. The results speak for themselves, she said after reviewing my progress. The board is thrilled. 1 month into our strategy, the pressure on Nexus began mounting. Clients were collectively demanding adherence to their contract terms, armed with specific knowledge of their rights and Nexus's obligations. When multiple major accounts simultaneously threatened legal action over the same issues, Nexus couldn't dismiss it as coincidence. Someone was coordinating the response. Valerie called again, her tone desperate. "You're dismantling us," she screamed, her voice raw with panic. "Stop this, Evan, or we'll crush you." I remained calm. "You started this war, Valerie. I'm just letting it play out." "What do you want, Evan? What will it take to stop this?" "I'm not doing anything, Valerie. Your clients are simply exercising their contractual rights. We both know you're behind this. The board is considering legal action against you for client interference. You fired me. Underscore. Valerie," I reminded her calmly, "any communication I've had with my friends since then is personal, not professional." "Friends," she repeated flatly. "Yes, friends. That's what you and Kira never understood." The line went quiet. "Kira's been let go." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, meaning it. Losing a job unexpectedly was something I understood all too well. We're prepared to make amends, full data portability for any client that wants it, no early termination fees, clean transitions. It was what my former clients deserved. "That sounds reasonable. And we want to talk about bringing you back. Executive VP position, direct board access. Now that was unexpected." I considered it for about 3 seconds. "You can't buy back what you broke," I said, my voice steady with conviction. "I'm done with Nexus. I appreciate the offer, Valerie, but I've found where I belong." After we hung up, I contacted Theo and the others, not to relay the conversation, but to give them a heads up. You might find Nexus more cooperative going forward. Within days, Nexus announced an enhanced client transition program offering exactly what Valerie had described. They framed it as a proactive customer service initiative. Everyone knew better. By then, my new department at Stormcrest was taking shape. 4 of my former team members from Nexus had already joined. More were interviewing. Tara stopped by my office late one evening as I was finalizing our department's mission statement. "I heard Nexus lost 10 major accounts this week," she said, leaning against the doorframe. "They're paying for their betrayal," I said, my voice steady with quiet triumph. I kept typing. "The market's always changing, and is it just coincidence that 7 of them signed with us today?" I finally looked up and smiled. "Must be our enhanced client transition program," she laughed. "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. The board's talking about a seat for you at the table by year's end." I nodded, but the title didn't matter to me. What mattered was building something that couldn't be broken by one person's poor decision, something based on real connection. 7 months after joining Stormcrest, I walked into our quarterly board meeting with Tara and the executive team. The presentation I'd prepared was straightforward: department growth, revenue projections, client retention metrics. As I concluded, the board chair leaned forward. "These numbers are impressive, Evan. 15 new enterprise clients in 2 quarters, retention rate near perfect. What's your secret?" "No secret," I replied. "We invest in relationships, not just transactions." The CFO spoke next. "And the Nexus accounts, 16 of their 20 top clients have switched to us now. 17 as of yesterday," Tara corrected, sliding a folder across the table. Brightforge Solutions signed this morning, 10-year contract, murmurs around the table. To be clear, I added, we've never directly solicited Nexus clients. They've approached us, usually after experiencing difficulties with their transition processes, which have been extensively documented. Tara patted another thicker folder. Our legal team has everything should Nexus ever want to pursue action. They wouldn't. Not with what we had, not with their reputation already in tatters. The room fell silent as the board chair reviewed the latest numbers. Finally, he looked up and nodded toward me. The board has reached a decision. We'd like to offer you the position of Executive Vice President of Strategic Relationships, effective immediately. I accepted with a simple handshake. No gloating, no speeches. That afternoon, the press release went out. My phone immediately buzzed with a message from Theo. Just saw the news. Congrats, EVP Calder, you've conquered them. Moments later, my assistant knocked on my door. You have a visitor, Valerie Pierce from Nexus Solutions. No appointment. I considered sending her away, decided against it. Send her in. Valerie looked tired, defeated. Congratulations on the promotion. Thank you. What can I do for you, Valerie? She placed a folder on my desk. Nexus is exploring acquisition options. We'd like Stormcrest to consider making an offer. You're waving the white flag, I said, my voice steady with quiet victory. Nexus is finished, and you know it. The acquisition went through 4 months later, not because of any lingering vendetta, but because it made good business sense. Stormcrest's board saw value in Nexus's technology stack, if not their client management approach. I insisted on one condition. Every Nexus employee would be given fair consideration for positions in the combined company. Nobody would experience what I had gone through. On the day the deal closed, I drove to Nexus's office, the converted warehouse where I'd spent 8 years of my career. The remaining employees gathered nervously in the main conference room for my address. I'm not here to clean house, I began, looking at the familiar faces. I'm here because what we're building at Stormcrest is based on the same principle that should have protected me here. Relationships matter. They're worth investing in. I saw relief in their eyes, understanding. Your jobs are secure if you want them. Your contributions valued. All I ask is that you bring that same commitment to relationships, with clients, with colleagues, with partners, to everything you do going forward. You've given us a second chance, Marlena said after, her voice thick with gratitude. Thank you, Evan. Afterward, I walked through the empty sales floor one last time, stopped at my old desk, now cleared of its temporary occupant. My phone buzzed. A message from Cora. Heard the news. Poetic justice, my friend. I smiled. It's not justice, I texted back, my voice resolute in my mind. It's building something unbreakable. The real value had never been on that wall. It had been in the connections I'd made, the relationships I'd built, the ones that had survived when everything else fell apart.